night. Only a single silver moonbeam illuminated the path in the dark forest. It seemed that in this ominous place, nothing could possibly be alive. Along the trail walked a dark silhouette. Even at this time of night, it was evident that fear was coursing through the person's veins. Indeed, dreadful legends circulated about this forest wilderness. Rumors whispered of vampires, werewolves, and other unholy creatures lurking here. By day, the forest was bathed in sunlight and the scent of fresh grass, with animals frolicking among the trees, bringing joy to the eyes. One could find a clearing to picnic with family or friends. But with the arrival of night, everything seemed to die down. The trees became shrouded in a sinister mist, and any traveler who strayed into it would never return home, doomed to be slain by the creatures of the underworld that dwelled within. And now, our hero, cloaked in darkness, trembling with fear, struggled to escape this most dreadful mist, warned of by the townsfolk. Yet he had disregarded these local legends, for he had traveled far and wide and had heard enough of such tales, but never had he encountered a vampire in the flesh. Still, he was curious, eager to test this myth, convinced it was merely a bedtime story for children. A strong wind blew, dislodging the hood from the stranger's head, revealing golden locks of hair and chocolate eyes. His lips were pressed tightly together in a sweaty line, occasionally trembling, much like his entire body. Whether from fear or cold, it was hard to tell. In the distance, a wolf howled, sending shivers down his spine. The young man hastily pulled the fallen part of his cloak back over his head and continued his journey. Meanwhile, the mist grew denser. Now, not even the moonlight was visible, upon which the poor creature had relied so desperately. Again the wind, again the rustle of leaves and quiet footsteps behind. The traveler spun around abruptly, but found no one behind him. Deciding not to waste any time, the young man ran, barely parting the path, deeper into the forest. Fear consumed him. Now he regretted ever deciding to pass through that town. But as luck would have it, it was precisely at that moment that a stone had to appear underfoot, causing him to stumble and fall, twisting his ankle. Not far off, a loud roar was heard, the snapping of branches and the rustling of leaves. The young man wanted to scream, but just in time he clamped his mouth shut with his hand, praying to the Lord God that these creatures would leave. But the footsteps drew closer. He shut his eyes, ready to meet his end, when his hand, resting on the ground, brushed against some twig, and the young man fell to the ground, hitting something metallic. What a loser! Raising his head, the youth saw gates, which he hurried to close. 3 huge gray wolves rushed towards him, ready to tear him to shreds, if not for the fact that the young man managed to close the gate, which, despite the rust on the bars, proved to be quite sturdy. Gasping for breath, the young man hastily crawled away from the creatures and struggled to his feet, which hurt terribly. Now he saw an old abandoned house, or rather, a mansion, which was simply enormous. The entrance was adorned with 2 gargoyles that seemed to stare without blinking, without averting their gaze. The steps were somewhat dilapidated, but still climbable, which the stranger did. Suddenly, a heavy rain began. Lightning struck. The young man hurried to take shelter under the eaves, but the storm had already touched him. Out of politeness, he knocked on the door, then pushed it, and of course it yielded easily to his touch. Inside, it was dark, but much warmer and drier than outside. The traveler removed his cloak and, hanging it on a chair, began to explore the premises where he intended to spend the night. With only the moonlight to guide him, it was difficult to discern colors. On the ground floor, it was dull, nothing interesting or unusual, all like in ordinary wealthy homes. Kitchen, dining room, living room with a fireplace, hallway, cloakroom, and a couple of other rooms, the doors of which were closed. A marble staircase of a light gray color led upstairs. Climbing it, the young man found himself in a long corridor, its walls adorned with paintings by various artists from different eras. This part of the interior greatly intrigued the person, and he set about studying each painting, trying to remember them as best as he could. However, soon this activity, especially in such dim lighting, grew tiresome, and he continued his exploration further. Nothing else of interest was noticed, but the gaze fell upon a partially open door, considering that all the other doors were firmly closed. This seemed peculiar, and the young man decided to enter. The room was brightly lit, thanks to the moonlight seeping through the window, partially obscured by a crimson curtain. Further exploration led to the discovery of an exit to the terrace, but the visit there had to be cancelled due to the inclement weather. The room itself was very clean and smelled of roses, and there was a bed in the corner, which was so soft that the traveler, so tired from the road, fell asleep as soon as his head touched the pillow. Stupid herbivores, I hate them. Again, they're trying to kill me, pathetic idiots. It's unlikely they'll succeed. I've lived for 500 years, and yet they keep hoping, weaklings. But more importantly, which of these herbivores panicked the werewolves and thus ruined my hunt? I'll beat them to death if I find out. Well, it doesn't matter. The main thing is they won't come here. I need to live quieter and calmer. I should recall the fog and go to sleep. What a crazy night. But one thought is bothering me. The last time these dogs got so agitated was when they sensed ancient hunters. But as far as I remember, they gave up that business 2 generations ago. Surely nobody from that line would be wandering here, especially at night. And what would they be doing in this god-forsaken town? Right. They have absolutely nothing to do here. Dawn is coming soon. I didn't understand why these wolves gathered here. I've never seen them near my house before. They're afraid to come. It's my territory. Smirking, I approach these dogs, baring my fangs. They growl, snarl, but dare not attack. The leader emits something resembling a howl, and the whole pack retreats. Well, that's splendid. The gate creaks open, admitting its owner. I step onto my territory and immediately sense a foreign presence. But it's not a vampire. It smells like a human, but I've never sensed one like this before. Who is it? Is it one of the ancient hunters? There are puddles in front of the house. The air is damp and cool. I enter, and my gaze immediately falls on the cloak lying on the armchair in the living room. Did this idiot decide to find shelter in my house? Well, he's out of luck, but I'm quite lucky. I'll kill someone for this night. Yielding to my emotions, I go upstairs to my room. I open the door and see a sleeping herbivore on my bed. This really infuriated me. I approach, intending to strike with my weapon, but suddenly a much more interesting and useful thought comes to mind. I set aside my weapon, lean cautiously towards the neck of the handsome guy. I never got to see his face, but he definitely possessed inhuman beauty. I run my tongue along his neck, bare my fangs, ready to bite. But this herbivore started screaming so loudly that my ears were blocked. But not only that, this blonde, in every sense of the word, jerked to the side, fell off the bed and dragged me along. Fortunately, this loser ended up beneath me and my fall wasn't painful, but the herbivore, it seems, almost cried out in pain. At that moment, he seemed very amusing to me. It seemed foolish for a woman vampire who had lived for 500 years to think so, because mortals call this feeling sympathy, and I, as a vampire, cannot feel such, especially towards a human. I get up. I watch closely as this herbivore tries to stand up, rubbing his head. And when he finally manages to do so, he looks at me like I'm a ghost, takes a step back, and falls again. I almost smiled. But this foolish display of emotions is pointless to me. But why does this idiot make me feel so many emotions? In these thoughts, I forgot about the main thing I wanted to do just a minute ago. I take a step towards the herbivore, confident that he'll try to run away. But he doesn't move from his spot, sitting there as if rooted to the ground, and his gaze doesn't leave me. I approach him, once again baring my gleaming fangs. Just one movement, and I'll taste that sweet human blood again. But this herbivore isn't going to let me enjoy the moment. He abruptly jumps aside, hits something in his path, and with a plea in his eyes, he says, "Please don't eat me. I'll do anything you say. Just don't kill me." People have begged me for mercy before, but it's never been this amusing, especially since nobody plans to eat him. I'll just have a little blood. I stare intently into his eyes and don't notice as the first ray of sunlight peeks into the room. Just a bit more, and I, the beautiful goddess, would have burned. And it's all this herbivore's fault, damn. I abruptly pull away, but he doesn't understand what's happening. The sunlight weakens me greatly, and the last thing I manage to say before losing consciousness is, "Close. The window." I feel the morning chill, someone's warmth nearby, breath on my neck. Startled, I jerk to the side. In my clumsiness, I fall to the floor and pull the stranger with me. I hit the bedside table. It hurts. It feels like tears are welling up in my eyes. I cautiously open my eyes and see a lovely girl about 20 years old with black as coal hair and dark, penetrating eyes which she didn't take off me, and I, in turn, stared back. Finally, the girl decided to end this game of staring. She stood up decisively. I followed her example, rubbing the bruise on my head, but then I looked at her again, unable to take my eyes off her. It's the first time I've seen such a serious expression on the girl's face, not expressing any emotions at all. I must admit, this person charmed me with just one look. I don't even notice how she approaches me and bares her fangs. I didn't expect this turn of events at all. I recoil sharply, bump into the same wretched table, and just beg the stranger, who turned out to be a monster, "Please don't eat me. I'll do anything you say, just don't kill me." She looks at me with some incomprehension. This game again, but this time it was interrupted by a ray of sunlight. The vampire girl jumps back abruptly and, barely holding herself up, says, "Close. The window." After that, she collapses unconscious. At that moment, I didn't understand why I needed to close the window. But when a ray of light hit the brunette's skin, leaving a burn, everything became clear. I could have just left everything as it was, but something didn't let me. I obediently approach the window, draw the curtains. At night, I wouldn't have thought that they could completely block out the daylight. I approach the girl, realizing that I'm simply enchanted, and it's that very vampire power. My father often said that looking at a female or male vampire, one could fall in love, lose their head, but something tells me that's not the case. I gently lift her in my arms, carry her to the bed, tenderly, as if trying not to harm this miracle, and lay her on the soft duvet. I'm overwhelmed with the desire to kiss her, but I restrain myself, not giving in to emotions, because after I leave, she won't even remember me, and I'll forget about her in a couple of days. How beautiful she is. I descend downstairs and see a beautiful mansion, which literally shines in the daylight. If you think about it, it's too bright a place for a vampire dwelling. My already dry cloak lies on the white armchair. From the inner pocket, I take out a small ring and a watch. It's strange that there are no clocks anywhere in this house. It's almost 5 in the morning. It's time to continue the journey. I look at the ring again, a family heirloom. It depicts the coat of arms of my family, a proud eagle. It's hard to believe that so many years have passed, and we still keep this unnecessary junk. I sigh, put the things back. I decide to take a little walk around the house. That's how I found the library with thousands of books. One lay on the table and caught my interest. After flipping through a few pages, I realized that I had problems with Latin, and that I had been wrong not to study it in my childhood. I'm about to leave. But before I go, a crazy idea comes to my mind. I enter the room where the girl is sleeping peacefully, approach the table, take a sheet of paper, a quill, and write a farewell message. Then I smile with satisfaction at my work, fold the sheet in half, and place it next to the brunette. As a final gesture, I smile at the mistress of the house and leave. Outside, the bright sun was shining, early birds were singing around, and the air was filled with the scent of fresh greenery. It's time to continue my journey, which has been going on for almost 2 years now. I am the heir of a very influential family, but since childhood, I didn't like all those expensive clothes and pompous receptions. When my father announced that he would officially declare me his heir at one of the ceremonies, I couldn't bear it and simply ran away from what seemed to me like hell. And now I travel the world, observing how ordinary people live, unaccustomed to luxury. Sometimes it even seems to me that their lives are much more interesting and colorful than mine. What's the point of being a gallant person with composure, not showing your feelings to anyone? On the first day of my travels, I saw a completely different world, a world of poverty but sincerity. After all, everything I had seen in people before was just masks of politeness and readiness to support at any moment, and underneath was just banal indifference and inexhaustible anger. And I was incredibly pleased that these people, completely unfamiliar to me, treated me more sincerely and kindly than those whom I had known for a very long time. Now I would like to find real friends who will help and support me in difficult times. Those who will share happiness and joy with me, and of course find someone to whom I will open up completely. The image of that vampire girl's face comes back to my mind. God, you fool, what are you thinking? How can you fall in love with a monster? Pondering this, I don't notice a root under my feet. And of course I stumble over it, hit my head again, but this time on a tree, and everything just swims before my eyes. The sun's rays caressed the green crowns of the trees, and they in turn shone brighter with shades of green. Sometimes there were barely perceptible gusts of wind. The air smelled of the forest. Observing such wonderful landscapes, no traveler could resist stopping and contemplating this beauty. The silence that hung around was broken by fast footsteps, which stopped at the unconscious body. The steps belonged to a huge wolf. The predator stopped, sniffed around. For a moment it might seem that the animal smiled, although this smile more resembled a snarl. Around the creature's neck, or rather it couldn't be called anything else, shone a silver chain with a ring, a kind of parody of a collar. The wolf pondered something for a moment, snarled again, and walked away. Meanwhile, the day was coming to an end, giving way to the evening. Soon the moon appeared in the sky. Although it was obscured by gray clouds, its light illuminated the night forest. In the distance a howl was heard. And again, footsteps very close, but this time they belonged to a man. A man emerged onto the clearing. Pale, bald, with red eyes narrowed with contempt, his lips twisted in a smirk. It smells like dogs. Looks like it's going to be a fun night. And who do we have here? What a sweet scent. Seems like a hunter. But they are no more. Interesting how things unfold. What do you say? He addressed the female figure. Shall we feast together? I'll share with you. From behind the nearby tree emerged the familiar brunette, her eyes burning with a thirst for blood, her hands clutching a reliable weapon. The opponent noticed the vampire girl's attitude. Well, shall we play? The man laughed. Enough talking, she said. Leave him. He's my prey. Why? The red-eyed man was slightly shocked by the vampire's behavior. However, the brunette remained silent. Can I ask you one more question? The red-eyed man asked, not waiting for an answer. Do you know this cutie? He was with you, wasn't he? It's all written on your face. And he laughed again. Shut up, or I'll rip your head off. You're scaring me. The man continued to grin foolishly. In the distance, a howl was heard, hurried steps. Both noticeably tensed, looking around. It seems they won't let us play today. And there are quite a few of them, said the red-eyed man. Of course we are on their territory, retorted the vampire girl. And what to do? The man sarcastically asked. Maybe you'll leave. I don't want anyone getting in my way while I'll be bashing them to death. Well, let's have fun another time. But what to do with our handsome guy here? I'll take him with me. It will be fun. Leave him. I've already warned you. Don't cross the line, or I'll send you to the other side myself. All right, don't be mad. The red-eyed man laughed again, and then he dissolved into the mist, which began to obscure the view again. The howling became closer. Steps quickened. Again, this atmosphere of danger. Damn jester, the vampire girl muttered into the darkness. And that stupid blonde guy, why can't I leave him here? Just because he's the first in my memory to leave a farewell message to a monster like me. Fool. Writing something like that to someone you don't even know. Madman. In a moment, the vampire girl leaned over the blonde, lifted him up, and dissolved into the mist, just as her red-eyed companion did. My world is cruel. For many years, I have dwelled in my territory, drinking the blood of those who inadvertently enter my domain, hunting and living from one night to the next. There are other monsters and creatures nearby, werewolves or vampires. Each species has its own territory. It used to be more complex, bloodier, scarier. There was war, and many perished. But now there is a treaty, the essence of which is quite simple. Do not trespass into others' domains. Do not disturb the peace, and no one will touch you. But every time someone violates the boundaries, I keenly feel it when a stranger enters my territory, the scents, the footsteps, and the disorder. And why do they not abide by the treaty? I know the answer. Everyone doesn't care. With years, everything is forgotten. A new generation of dogs, vampires grows up, who are not satisfied with their own domains, greedy, foolish, and useless creatures. I pity them. They do not know who I am. They do not remember. They have forgotten. But I am always ready to remind them why they called me the bloody goddess of the night. However, now I am puzzled. I woke up. My world is cruel. For many years, I have dwelled in my territory, drinking the blood of those who inadvertently enter my domain, hunting and living from one night to the next. There are other monsters and creatures nearby, werewolves or vampires. Each species has its own territory. It used to be more complex, bloodier, scarier. There was war, and many perished. But now there is a treaty, the essence of which is quite simple. Do not trespass into others' domains, do not disturb the peace, and no one will touch you. But every time someone violates the boundaries, I keenly feel it when a stranger enters my territory, the scents, the footsteps, and the disorder. And why do they not abide by the treaty? I know the answer. Everyone doesn't care. With years, everything is forgotten. A new generation of dogs, vampires grows up, who are not satisfied with their own domains. Greedy, foolish, and useless creatures. I pity them. They do not know who I am. They do not remember. They have forgotten. But I am always ready to remind them why they called me the bloody goddess of the night. However, now I am puzzled. I woke up. That feeling again. The feeling of the night. I feel the strength overwhelming me again. I try to remember what happened this morning. I remember returning from an unsuccessful hunt because someone scared the werewolves. I remember feeling the presence of a stranger in the house. How I was caught by the dawn through the open window. Yes, the window. I get up abruptly. I realize the window is closed. Everything is in order, but who did it? That blonde guy? It's strange. Why did he help me? When he could have killed me and returned home a hero. But he helped. Fulfilled my request. After all, I've never asked anyone for anything. I notice a piece of paper. I distinctly remember it wasn't here before. I take it, unfold it, and see neat, clearly aristocratic handwriting. Hello, lovely, charming stranger. I hope you are feeling better now, because when I left your house, you were sleeping. Honestly, I don't understand why I'm writing this message, but for some reason I know you will read it. It seems to me that we will never meet again. But I want you to know my feelings for you. At first, you scared me terribly when you wanted to bite, although now I find it incredibly interesting what it's like to be in the power of a vampire girl. A very beautiful vampire girl. Many say that vampires are beautiful only in the eyes of the victim, but upon seeing you, I realized that it's not true at all. You enchanted me with just one glance. When you lost consciousness, I was very scared. What if she dies? The thought flashed through my mind. I couldn't even imagine that the sun is so dangerous for you. Although we will never meet again, know that a part of my heart remains here, in this house, next to you. It was love at first sight. It's a pity I don't know your name. I dare not hope for another meeting. Goodbye. He wrote a love letter to a vampire. A monster. Is he an idiot? Is he crazy? Does he want to die? But I would be lying to myself if I said it didn't touch me. Again, I hear a wild howl outside the window. The scent of predators again. I look up at the sky and realize that tonight is the full moon. I begin to involuntarily worry about this blonde guy. Love at first sight. I never believed in such nonsense. But something's not right here. I try to pull myself together. It's time to go hunting now. I leave the house. But as soon as I step outside the territory of my house, I sense a familiar scent. Another one in a minute. This night, I am simply obliged to kill. I smirk at such thoughts, and in a moment find myself in some clearing. I don't remember if I've been here before, but it's definitely werewolf territory, and if I don't hurry, sooner or later those dogs, proudly calling themselves wolves, will appear here. I take a few steps, realizing that I've already been noticed. Damn Jester. He's here too, hunting as well. I can't stand him since our very first meeting, which happened somewhere 2 centuries ago. No one has ever annoyed me like him, but there's nowhere to go from reality. I hear his phrase. It smells like dogs. Looks like it's going to be a fun night. And who do we have here? What a sweet scent. Seems like a hunter, but they are no more. Interesting how things unfold. What do you say? He addressed the female figure. Shall we feast together? I'll share with you. Shall we indulge? I'll share with you. How it annoys me. I sigh nervously and slowly step out from behind the tree nearby, my eyes burning with a thirst for murder, and my hands gripping the reliable weapon. This red-eyed one noticed my mood. He smirked again. He keeps annoying me, asking questions. What does he want from me? Someday I'll kill him. In the distance, a howl is heard, hurried steps. We both noticeably tense, looking around. It's getting a bit dangerous, but not for us. Of course, we could kill them, but to fight side by side with this idiot. And there's also a very important treaty with the dogs. Considering that its main condition is not to trespass onto others' lands, it would be very bad to violate it now. After all, here are two vampires, a human, or half-human, apparently a descendant of ancient hunters. This could start a new war. The red-eyed one seemed to have read my thoughts. But this tone is starting to annoy me again. Well, let's have fun another time. But what to do with our handsome guy, I'll take him with me, it'll be fun. Leave him, I've already warned you, don't cross the line, or I'll send you to the other world myself. All right, don't be mad, the man laughed again. Moments later I bend over the blonde, lift him in my arms and dissolve into the mist. For the mist is my element. Another moment, and I'm back near the house. The second night without blood is starting to take its toll on my strength. I wouldn't say this guy is heavy, although now I feel as weak as an ordinary human. This is very bad. I notice the scent of blood nearby. I see that the blonde is injured. He must have hit his head on a tree again. It's not hard to guess from the scratches near his temple and on his neck. I can't hold back anymore. I slowly lean towards his neck, bare my fangs, but something stops me. I can't bite him. I've become a fool. What is happening to me? I enter the house, walk through several rooms on the second floor, push open the door, which creaks annoyingly. I step inside. Cleanliness and order, just the way I like it. I lay the handsome guy on the bed, take bandages and alcohol from the cupboard in the corner, soak the cloth. It instantly becomes wet, and an unpleasant smell spreads throughout the room. I carefully wash the wounds. This herbivore grimaces in pain, hisses, but doesn't regain consciousness. Now I notice what a beautiful face he has. Even now, I feel like leaning in and kissing him. But that would be the stupidest display of emotions, from which I've been freed throughout my entire vampire life. Indeed, feelings are unnecessary. They are only for mortals. I bandage his head, his neck, and hurry to leave this room. But for some reason, I turn back to look at him again. Who are you? I wonder, very curious. It's been a long time since I felt like this. I'll have to take a stroll around the area. With a clear intention to learn more about him, and in the process to satisfy my hunger, I leave the room and head towards the familiar town. The sky is completely covered with clouds. The stars and the moon have disappeared. Rain will start soon. Since I am a nocturnal creature, I can see perfectly even in such darkness. Moving through the dark streets of the small town, I search for my prey. I see a girl, young and well-dressed, but I sense the scent of the blonde on her. It makes me angry. What connects this vulgarly dressed girl with the man in my house? I won't let her slip away, but before I drain all her blood, I need to ask about the blonde. Hello, I'm lost. Can you help me? I'm looking for a hotel. The girl was slightly startled, but not frightened. Hi, I know there's one not far from here in that direction, she said, pointing with her hand. Understand it's already late and I'm alone. I'm a little scared. Help me. Maybe you could escort me? I'm in a hurry. Well, okay, let's go. Just don't lag behind. As we entered a dark alley, I seized the opportunity and grabbed her by the throat. And then I sank my fangs in. What a glorious pleasure. I was very hungry. The girl screamed and went limp in my arms, but she was still conscious. After some time, satiated, I asked, "What was the name of the blonde who was with you?" I don't know," she uttered with her last strength. "You must not lie to me," I said, squeezing her neck, brushing against the bite mark. "Please, stop. I'll tell you everything, just don't kill me," the girl pleaded. I abruptly released my grip, causing the girl to collapse on the ground. His name was Edward Ashton. Don't kill me. I swear I won't tell anyone that." She didn't have time to finish her sentence. One strike became the answer to the victim's question. After drinking the last drops of blood, I headed back home, anticipating a cheerful end to the night and another murder. So he's from the Ashtons. That's why I sense that strange scent from him. It's the scent of Dampiers, I was mistaken. He's not from the Hunters, he's a mudblood. My head was throbbing terribly. I tried to sit up, but it was a struggle. It took me about a minute to figure out where I was. I recognized the familiar Gothic style of the room and the even more familiar door. Trying to get up, but my head began to ache even more. I decided not to strain myself and just lie down, pondering life. And what exactly had I had in my life? Born into a wealthy family, I could never do what I wanted. I was supposed to accept the title of heir, but I ran away. During my journey, I nearly died twice, fell in love with a vampire girl, and ended up back in her house. I don't understand or remember anything. One thing is clear. Someone definitely saved me from certain death in that forest, and then treated my wounds. I wonder what time it is now. And why are there no clocks anywhere? The room was very bright and homely. It seemed like I had returned after long travels and now lay in my own bed, watching the candles burning on the chandelier, how the flames illuminated the cream wallpaper on the walls, the white door, the perfectly white wardrobe, cream curtains. Initially, this place seemed too bright for a vampire's lair. Although why lair? They are just like everyone else, just a little different from us humans. In the distance, the howl was heard again. For some reason, it made me shudder. But what was I afraid of? Wolves? Perhaps I should be afraid of them. After all, I'm a failure at life. Something always happened to me, and because of this, my parents often humiliated me. Why did they constantly tell me that I was good for nothing? They were supposed to support me, take care of me. Their care was expressed in means. They were only concerned about money. The only person who treated me well was Jonathan, the head of personal security. As far as I remember, he always praised me, said that I would make a good artist. And for some reason, when Jonathan was around, the things that I could never do, I did with such skill that anyone would envy. But then he was fired precisely because he spent too much time with me, although they justified it by saying that he couldn't cope with his duties, although he did. It was then, when my own parents took away my first and only friend, that I decided that I would never become the heir, and if I did, I would ruin my father's business. Of course, it's wrong. They're my parents. But the pain from the past doesn't let me go. And then it finally dawned on me. A vampire. She could have... I start hastily removing the bandages from my neck. Ignoring the terrible headache, I jump out of bed and run to the mirror. Examining this part of my body, I see small scratches, but no bite. I slowly sink back onto the bed, as white as the room, quietly sighing, and there is only one question spinning in my mind. Why didn't she bite me? She almost attacked me last night. A strong wind blows the curtains and pleasantly caresses my face. It would be nice to stay here forever. That definitely won't happen. I hear a cold but familiar voice behind me. Huh? Can you read minds or something? I'm surprised. No, you just can't control yourself. And you lie, by the way. What? When did I lie to you? It hurts to hear such things from her. You didn't tell me who you really are, which means you lied. Why didn't you write the name? You read... I start blushing gradually. It's really awkward for me now. Of course. You still haven't answered the question. Why? She said just as coldly. Well, I decided to add a little mystery, I say, looking straight into her black eyes and blushing again. What's wrong with me? I'm so embarrassed by this beautiful brunette. All right, I'll believe you. But if you lied to me, I'll rip your head off. Please don't. I mean, you saved me. I stop myself again, the words getting stuck in my throat, and I sigh heavily. What's wrong with you? Everything's fine. Never mind. Just answer the question. What's your name? Liliana Nightshade, she says quickly and coldly. Liliana. I almost whisper her name. People like you have called me different names, but this one fits for our introduction. Honestly, I expected you to run away as soon as you woke up. I have nowhere to run. You're from a well-known lineage, you have influential relatives, and their hands can reach my territory, she suddenly says disdainfully. But why does the vampire despise my family? They won't come looking for me, especially not here, I reply to her. Why do you think that? Your family of half-bloods, traitors, and liars can stoop to any despicable deed. I don't let her finish, abruptly getting up from the bed, approaching her, and hitting her in the face with all my strength. It turned out to be something like a slap. Her cheek slightly reddens, and it stands out sharply against her pale skin. Her head is lowered, dark strands covering her face. Don't you dare say anything about my family. You don't know them. You don't know me. You don't know anything. You live your miserable vampire life. You can kill me here and now, but know that I'm thinking about you. You're a monster. And then my breath catches, and I realize that I'm definitely going to be killed now. Funny and sad, a quiet voice is heard. So you know nothing. Now it's clear. I wanted to kill you, but... Get out of here, she continues in the same quiet tone. I'll leave a book in the hallway. Take it. You'll read about your family and who you are, you foolish boy. And now get out. And she dissolved into the mist, which once again enveloped the mansion. I'm ashamed, terribly ashamed of my behavior. I obediently go downstairs. On the table, there was indeed a book in a leather cover. On the chair, just like yesterday, hung my cloak. I get dressed, carefully take the book with the title, The Outcasts Walking Under the Sun. On the first page, I see the coat of arms of our family, a proud eagle. Outcasts. I wonder how much I didn't know about my family, about myself. But now I need to find and apologize to Liliana. Why did I hit her? She saved me. What a fool I am. I leave the room. It's pouring rain outside. I pull up my hood and go in search of my beloved, taking the book with me. Stepping outside the mansion's territory, I'm suddenly very afraid of something, as if something is about to happen. I shudder again at the howling nearby. The fog thickened. Edward raced at full speed in search of Liliana, yet it wasn't just the pursuit driving him. Fear propelled his steps. He sensed something closing in on him. Pain gripped his body, his legs were nearing exhaustion, and fire burned in his lungs. From a distance, the horrifying howl echoed once more. Fear enveloped him, his attempts to return thwarted by the impenetrable fog. Soon, the howl resounded again, this time seeming much closer, followed by a deathly silence. Fear made him tremble. Recalling Liliana, the vampire girl, Edward realized that without her help, he might perish. The fog deepened, shifting its hue from purple to dark blue, completely obscuring his view. Footsteps. Very close now. Run! He needs to run to survive, but there's nowhere to run. In an instant, sharp teeth sink into Edward's arm. The blonde can't help but scream in pain, his cry dissipating into the fog. No one will hear him. No one will come to help. No one. He's alone again. Indeed, from birth he's been alone, and it would be extremely foolish to seek someone to share his pain and support him now. Another moment, and Edward hears a whimper nearby. Then he realizes that his arm has finally been released. He feels the blood dripping onto the damp ground. Then a voice. "Look who we have here. It's Liliana's friend. She's been so kind lately, helping cute blondes who've lost their way in our forest. By the way, she didn't bite you, did she? Maybe we should fix that, huh?" A mocking tone, sending shivers down the spine. Who knows how it would have ended if someone who nearly bit off Edward's arm hadn't reminded them of their presence with a vicious growl. The stranger clearly didn't like it. "Shut up, you stupid mutt. Can't you see I'm having dinner here?" There was a dull sound of a blow and the creature whimpered. "There, you see? I helped you. Don't you want to thank me?" Edward feels a breath on his neck and jerks away abruptly. "Whoa, who are you?" he stutters, ready to burst into tears. "How rude of me, I forgot my manners. It's time for me to introduce myself." The fog finally dissipates, revealing a rather handsome man with unnaturally red eyes. "I'm Joker. Pleased to meet you." The man laughs. "I'm Edward Ashton," the guy mumbles. "Ashton? Your father is a rich bastard, isn't he?" The red-eyed man suddenly asks seriously, "Don't answer, it's already clear. Your scent seemed familiar to me. But you, little brainless outcast." The man's voice turns menacing. "Do you know what we purebloods do to those like you? To those who dare to cross the borders, we make them regret it. This is our land." Another voice suddenly interrupts the conversation, more like the growling of a beast. From the darkness of the forest emerges a huge, half-naked man, whose very presence sends shivers down the spine. "It's not polite to interrupt, Desmond. Can't you see? I'm busy educating the younger generation. Don't interfere, take your pack of dogs and leave." Joker says, "You talk a lot about politeness, but you've crossed the borders, violated the treaty." The man assumes a threatening posture and growls like a beast. "Just like your dumb puppies," Liliana suddenly interjected, also joining the conversation. "They often come to hunt on my territory. My home stinks of dogs. How interesting. Did you come to kill a mudblood or save him?" The Joker laughed nastily again. The werewolf glanced at the vampire girl. "You dare not interfere." "I dare," Liliana rudely interrupted Desmond. "I've been asleep for a long time, but I can remember what I was like. Do you remember the bloody goddess of the night, old wolf? Do you want war? I'm not alone. The borders are violated. Pay with blood or death," the werewolf said and smiled. At that moment, hundreds of wolves of different sizes emerged from the darkness of the forest. They all glared viciously at the trio. They were surrounded. Battle was practically inevitable. However, Liliana looked at Edward. The guy looked back at her, realizing that this time he wouldn't be able to escape death. But before he dies, Edward will do what he's wanted to do for a long time. He approached Liliana and kissed her tenderly. Everything in the woods is quiet. The rain, the wind, the storm. All sounds disappeared. The wolves stopped growling. Even their leader, the werewolf Desmond, stopped smiling and looked shocked at the bloody goddess and the young Dampier. No one expected such a turn of events. Including Liliana, she was momentarily stunned by the guy's bravery. And Joker grimaced. gross. You and her? I'm going to be sick. What a gross thing to say. The red-eyed man commented on the situation. Edward looked at the vampire girl and said, Liliana, I didn't mean to. Forgive me. He glanced at the brunette. I love you. Love? How cute. Joker started laughing loudly, but he quickly fell silent when he felt someone's hand piercing his throat. He saw Liliana suddenly appearing in front of him. She clenched her fist and tore out a piece of flesh. Joker fell to his knees, and black, thick blood started flowing from his neck. Joker tried to get up, but Liliana grabbed him by the head and forced him to the ground with force. The debt is paid in blood. He's your sacrifice. I'm taking the half-blood with me and leaving. I don't want to see your pack of dogs near my home anymore, Liliana said. With those words, Liliana was at Edward's side, and with one last glance at the red-eyed man, she walked away with the blonde into the darkness of the forest. Desmond turned into a large werewolf and slowly approached the wounded Joker. The man knelt before the pack of wolves and tried to laugh, but instead of laughter, he heard only a pitiful wheeze. Edward ran. He didn't know where, but he ran. He didn't know how long he had been running, but he wanted to preserve his life. After a few minutes of this escape, he stopped and leaned against a tree, trying to catch his breath. He looked at his savior again. Liliana, I'm sorry for what I said to you the other day. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I really don't think so. I understand if you kill me now or do something else. Shut up. I don't want to hear your excuses. But it's not excuses. It's apologies. Just shut up. You're not going to kill me? Right now, I regret leaving you alive. Listen, I didn't mean to, and I really didn't know about all this. Oh, by the way, who was that red-eyed guy? He wanted to kill me. An enemy, and stop asking me stupid questions. Okay, I'm sorry. Apology accepted. What? Nothing. Let's go already. You're attracting unnecessary attention. Where are we going? I told you. Stop asking me stupid questions. We're going to my place. We live together now. Liliana grabbed the hapless Edward by the hand, and they both dissolved into the darkness.